My phone buzzed just as I was weaving my beat-up electric scooter through the thick of rush hour traffic. 3 words lit up the screen. Let's break up. The sender was my girlfriend, Jessica. I pulled over to the curb and texted back a single question mark. The reply came almost instantly. Leo, it's just not working. You're a great guy, but you can't give me the life I want. I'm getting engaged to Kyle Harrison next month. Kyle Harrison, a trust fund kid with a BMW who'd been chasing Jessica for ages. I stared at the words, a dull ache spreading through my chest. A 3-year relationship, erased with a single text. I didn't reply. I just shoved the phone back in my pocket, twisted the throttle, and let the electric hum of the scooter dissolve into the river of cars. My last delivery of the night was to the penthouse suite at the Ritz-Carlton. Standing in the gilded hallway, holding a fancy-looking takeout bag, I felt like a ghost haunting a world I didn't belong to. The door was slightly ajar. I knocked, but there was no answer. Hello, your food delivery. Still nothing. Just a faint, ragged sound of someone breathing. I hesitated for a moment before pushing the door open. The overwhelming scent of alcohol hit me first. Sprawled on the plush wool carpet of the living room was a woman. She was wearing a perfectly tailored black dress that traced a stunning silhouette. Her long hair was a mess, hiding her face, revealing only a pale, slender neck and delicate collarbones. I set the delivery on a console table by the entrance, walked over, and knelt beside her, gently tapping her shoulder. Ma'am, are you okay? She stirred, slowly lifting her head. My breath caught in my throat. Her face was a masterpiece. Her features were so exquisite they looked like they'd been sculpted by a master artist. Her skin so pale it seemed to glow. But right now, her beautiful eyes were clouded over, and her cheeks were flushed an unhealthy red. She looked at me, her gaze unfocused, as if trying to figure out who I was. Water, she rasped, her voice husky with a vulnerability she probably never showed when sober. I glanced around, found an unopened bottle of mineral water on the bar, and poured a glass. She struggled to sit up, but was too weak, swaying precariously before starting to fall back toward the carpet. I instinctively reached out, my hand closing around her arm to steady her. Her skin was burning up. The moment I touched her, she latched onto me like I was a lifeline, her full weight slumping against me. Her warm breath, a mix of expensive perfume and liquor, ghosted across my neck. I froze solid. Ma'am, you're drunk. Let me help you to the sofa. I tried to reason with her. She ignored me, burying her face in my shoulder like a small animal seeking shelter. I sighed, half dragging, half carrying her to the couch. The second she hit the soft cushions, she closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. I looked at her peaceful face, unsure of what to do. Leaving a drunk woman alone and unconscious in a hotel room felt wrong. I found her phone, hoping to call a friend or family member. There was no passcode, but the contact list was nearly empty, just a few entries labeled Mr. Davis, Director Miller, and the like. I didn't dare call them randomly. Thinking for a moment, I grabbed a notepad from the coffee table and wrote a short message. I left your food on the console table and poured you a glass of water. If you need anything, you can call me. I left my number and turned to leave. Just as I reached the door, I heard her whisper in her sleep, "Don't go." I looked back. Her eyes were still closed, but her brow was furrowed as if she were trapped in a nightmare. My heart softened for some reason. Fine, might as well see this through. I sat down on the armchair farthest from her, deciding to wait until she was a little more coherent before taking off. As the night deepened, the room was cast in the warm glow of a single floor lamp. Listening to the steady rhythm of her breathing, my own eyelids started to feel heavy. I'd been running deliveries all day. I was exhausted. Before I knew it, I had drifted off to sleep. I was woken by a sudden chill. Opening my eyes, I found myself still curled up on the armchair, a thin blanket draped over me. Across the room, morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The woman was awake, sitting on the opposite sofa. She'd changed into a silk robe, her long hair casually tied back, revealing her entire face. Sober, the vulnerability of the previous night was gone, replaced by a cool, commanding presence. She looked like a queen on her throne. She was sipping a cup of coffee, watching me calmly. "You're awake?" Her voice was as cool as her gaze, betraying no emotion. I shot upright, my mind still foggy. You didn't leave last night?" she asked. "I was worried, seeing you so drunk," I answered honestly. She set down her coffee cup, pulled a file from a drawer in the coffee table, and slid it across to me. "Read this." Confused, I picked it up. The cover read, "Boyfriend Employment Agreement." I opened it to the first page. Party A, Isabella Vance. Party B, blank. The terms were simple. Party B was to act as Party A's boyfriend for a period of 1 year. During this time, Party B was required to accompany Party A to various family and social events and be available on call. In return, Party A would pay Party B a salary of $50,000 a month. $50,000. I counted the zeros again, just to be sure. I worked myself to the bone every month, running my legs off for maybe $2 or $3 grand. $50,000 was more than I'd make in a decade. I looked up, staring at her in disbelief. Ms. Vance, what is this? I'd seen her name in her phone's contacts, so I guessed correctly. It means I'm buying a year of your time, Isabella said. Her tone is flat, as if she were discussing a $100 transaction. You just need to play your part. I won't be a penny short on your payment. My entire worldview felt like it was cracking. This was the kind of stuff you see in movies, not what happens to a guy like me. Why me? I had to ask. Because you didn't take advantage of the situation last night. She looked me straight in the eye. You helped me to the sofa, cover me with a blanket, and then you slept curled up in that tiny chair. You're desperate for money, but you didn't act on it. In this day and age, a poor man with principles is a rare find. She knew I was broke. My faded t-shirt and the peeling soles of my sneakers must have given me away. My first instinct was to refuse. What was the difference between this and selling myself? I might be poor, but Leo Miller, still had some pride. I pushed the contract back toward her. Ms. Vance, you've got the wrong guy. Isabella raised an eyebrow, slightly surprised by my reaction. Not enough. This isn't about the money. I stood up, ready to leave. I'm a delivery guy. I wouldn't be any good at playing your boyfriend. Stop, she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it held an authority that was impossible to ignore. I froze. Your name is Leo Miller, 23 years old. Your parents died when you were young. You put yourself through college with scholarships and odd jobs. You currently work as a courier for Swift Eats. Your monthly income is around $2,500, $1,500 of which you send back home for your sister's college tuition and living expenses. She recited my life story as if reading a grocery list, each word a nail hammering into my pride. I whipped around, glaring at her. You investigated me? I used your thumbprint to unlock your phone while you were asleep, she admitted without a trace of shame. Wasn't that hard? My fists clenched. Leo, I'm not negotiating with you. Isabella stood and walked toward me. She was half a head shorter than me, but her presence was so powerful it felt like she was towering over me. I need a shield to fend off an arranged marriage my family is pushing on me. You need money to give your sister a better life and to live with a little more dignity yourself. We're each getting what we need. She pulled a black card from her wallet and pressed it into my hand. This is a supplementary card. No spending limit. The PIN is 6/8. Sign the contract. From this day forward, you belong to me. The cold plastic dug into my palm. I looked into her cool, unwavering eyes, wanting to say something, but no words came out. Dignity? Pride? In the face of a reality where I had to split every dollar I earned, those concepts felt pathetically hollow. My sister's birthday was next month. She wanted a new laptop. I've been looking for weeks, and even the cheapest ones were over $600. I stood there in silence for a long time. Finally, I picked up the pen, and on the line for Party B, I wrote my name. A barely perceptible smile touched the corners of Isabella's lips before vanishing. Good, she said. Now, go take a shower and change. My driver is waiting for you downstairs. He'll take you somewhere. On that day, my life took a turn down a road I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams. The driver took me to the most exclusive shopping district in the city, to a men's boutique I'd only ever seen in magazines. A manager in a tailored vest and white gloves greeted us respectfully. Ms. Vance has already given us instructions. Please come this way, Mr. Miller. I followed him into a private VIP lounge where racks of clothes were already waiting. Everything from casual wear to formal suits. These were selected in advance, based on your measurements. Please try them on. Our tailor is on standby for any immediate alterations. I glanced at the price tags hanging from the clothes, and the numbers made my eyes twitch. A single shirt cost more than my entire monthly salary. I felt deeply out of place, like a bull in a china shop. Just whatever you think is best, I mumbled. The manager smiled and selected a light gray casual suit. I went into the fitting room and changed. The man in the mirror was a stranger. The perfect fit and luxurious fabric instantly elevated my entire appearance. I wasn't bad looking to begin with, 6 feet tall with a lean, athletic build from years of delivery work, but my features had always been muted by cheap, worn-out clothes. When I stepped out of the fitting room, the manager's eyes lit up. Mr. Miller, you're a natural. The suit was made for you. I tugged at the collar, still feeling awkward. Just then, a familiar voice drifted from the front of the store. Kyle, honey, what do you think of this one? You look so handsome in it. It was Jessica. My body went rigid. My first instinct was to hide, but it was too late. Jessica walked in, clinging to the arm of a man with slick back hair, and saw me immediately. She froze. Leo. She stared at me in disbelief, her eyes darting from my face to the expensive suit I was wearing. What are you doing here? The man beside her, Kyle Harrison, recognized me too. He looked me up and down, his eyes dripping with contempt. Well, if it isn't the delivery boy. What? You won the lottery. Came here to play dress up with the grown-ups. Jessica's face flushed with embarrassment. She tugged on Kyle's arm. Kyle, don't be like that. Like what? Am I wrong? Kyle's voice grew louder. A broke delivery jockey who thinks he belongs in Tom Ford? Look at him. He looks like he's about to have a panic attack. He probably just came in to get out of the heat. Other customers and staff members glanced our way with varying expressions. My face burned with humiliation. Jessica looked at me with a hint of pity, as if to say, see, this is the difference between us. I took a deep breath, forcing down the anger. I couldn't cause a scene. I was Isabella Vance's contract boyfriend now. I couldn't cause trouble for her. I managed a tight smile at Kyle. You're right. Just browsing. I was just about to leave. Good. Know your place. Kyle sneered triumphantly. He wrapped his arm around Jessica and addressed the manager. Give me the latest suits you have in stock. I want to try them on. The manager looked torn, glancing between me and Kyle. I'm very sorry, Mr. Harrison. All of our new arrivals have already been reserved for Mr. Miller here. Kyle's face turned a shade of sickly green. What? For him? Can he even afford a single button? Jessica stared at me, her expression one of pure shock. I was just as stunned. I had no idea why the manager was saying this. That's correct, sir, the manager said, maintaining his professional smile. Mr. Miller is our most distinguished guest. For the remainder of the morning, the boutique has been exclusively booked for him. Booked? The entire boutique? I looked at the manager, and he gave me a subtle wink. I understood instantly. It had to be Isabella. She must have arranged it. That woman's methods were nothing short of domineering. Kyle's face cycled through shades of red and white. He pointed a trembling finger at me, speechless. You. A wave of satisfaction, unlike anything I'd ever felt, washed over me. I channeled every gangster movie I'd ever seen, walked up to Kyle, and clapped him gently on the shoulder. Sorry about that, Kyle. Today, this place is all mine. I turned to the manager, pointing at the suit I was wearing and a whole rack of others. This one and all of these. I'll take them all. Then, I pulled out the black card Isabella had given me and handed it to the manager. Charge it. The entire store fell silent. Everyone stared at me as if I were some kind of god. Jessica's jaw was hanging open, her shock practically spilling onto the floor. Kyle looked like he'd just swallowed a fly. The manager accepted the card reverently and went to process the payment. I looked at Jessica. Her expression was a complicated mess of shock, confusion, and a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher. Regret. She probably thought I'd hit some massive jackpot. It would never cross her mind that I'd just been bought by a billionaire. The feeling was bizarre, absurd, and undeniably satisfying. I returned to Isabella's penthouse apartment laden with shopping bags. She was on the living room sofa, sipping tea and reviewing a document. When she saw me, she glanced up, her eyes sweeping over the bags. Do they fit? Yeah. I set the bags down and sat on the couch across from her. Ms. Vance, about what happened at the store today. I saw it. She cut me off, gesturing to a large screen on the wall. The screen was displaying security footage from a boutique. My entire power play had been broadcast live for her viewing pleasure. My face grew hot. Your ex-girlfriend? She asked, her tone unreadable. Yes. Your taste is questionable, she commented, then switched off the monitor. However, your performance today was adequate. Remember, you now represent me. I don't want my man being looked down on by anyone. Her man. The word sent a strange jolt through me. I knew it was just an act, but I couldn't help the weird feeling it gave me. From now on, don't call me Miss Vance, she said. Call me Isabella. Isabella, I repeated, the name feeling foreign on my tongue. She seemed pleased and gave a slight nod. What would you like for dinner? I can cook, I said, the word surprising even myself. She paused, clearly not expecting that. You know how to cook? A little, I said. I didn't want to be completely useless, living off her, using her things. If I couldn't provide any value at all, then what was the difference between me and the boy toy Kyle thought I was? Isabella's fridge was a treasure trove of gourmet ingredients. Wagyu beef from Australia, oysters from France, truffles from Italy. I picked out a few simpler items and made 3 dishes and a soup. A simple pan-seared steak, garlic sautéed broccoli, pasta with olive oil and garlic, and a light chicken broth. It was basic home-cooked food. Isabella sat at the dining table, her expression unreadable as she looked at the meal. "This is what you're serving me. I don't know how to cook all that other stuff in your fridge," I said honestly. "Besides, I figure it's been a while since you've had a home-cooked meal." She fell silent. I served her a bowl of the broth and set it in front of her. She picked up her spoon, hesitated, and took a small sip. Then another. Then she silently picked up her fork and began to eat. That night, she ate a full plate of food. After dinner, instead of disappearing into her study to work, she sat on the sofa, gazing out at the city lights, lost in thought. I finished cleaning the kitchen, and when I came out, she spoke suddenly. "Leo." "Yeah." The food was delicious. It was the first time she had ever complimented me. A strange warmth spread through my chest. The days that followed fell into a pattern I had only ever dreamed of. No more waking up before dawn, no more fighting rush hour, no more dealing with angry customers. I'd wake up when I wanted, work out, read a book, and then figure out what to cook for Isabella's dinner. She gave me a supplementary pass to the fitness center in the building, and I went every day, honing my body into better and better shape. Isabella was incredibly busy, leaving early and coming home late. Most of our interactions were limited to the dinner table. I cooked, she ate. She rarely spoke, but her appetite seemed to increase daily. Sometimes, she would take me to stuffy corporate parties. Whenever someone gave me a questioning look, she would link her arm through mine and introduce me with an air of absolute finality. "This is my boyfriend, Leo." In response, they would all get the same look of dawning comprehension on their faces. I became an open secret in the city's upper echelon. Isabella Vance, the CEO of Vance Industries, had herself a handsome boy toy. I didn't care about the gossip. The $50,000 that appeared in my bank account on time every month was more real than anyone's opinion. I bought my sister the latest laptop and smartphone and even sent her $10,000, telling her not to worry about money. She was ecstatic, calling me and demanding to know where it all came from. I lied and told her I'd started a small business with a friend and it was taking off. I didn't want her to know the truth. One day, while I was in the kitchen making a stew, Isabella's best friend, a woman named Chloe, barged in. She was a firecracker, loud and familiar from the moment she walked through the door. "Oh my God, Isabella, you actually have him stashed in here." She circled me as if I were an exhibit at the zoo. "Not bad on the eyes, and the body's in good shape." "So, handsome, what is it you do for a living?" "I'm between jobs at the moment," I said. "Oh, a kept man." Chloe giggled, covering her mouth. "I'm impressed, Isabella. You have very unique taste." Isabella shot her a glare. "If you don't have anything nice to say, shut up." Chloe stuck her tongue out and leaned in to whisper to Isabella. "Are you serious about this? A guy like this is fine for a bit of fun, but you can't actually be falling for him. You know what he's after." They thought they were being quiet, but I was close enough to hear every word. My hands paused over the cutting board for a second before I resumed chopping vegetables. "Yeah, what am I after?" "Her money. That was the deal from the very beginning. But I had to admit, I didn't know when it started, but seeing her come home exhausted every day and watching that tired expression melt away as she ate the food I made, it gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. I think I was starting to enjoy taking care of her. The turning point came a month later. Isabella came home late, her face a grim mask, the smell of alcohol clinging to her clothes. Without a word, she kicked off her heels, threw herself onto the sofa, and kneaded her temples. "What's wrong?" I asked, handing her a glass of warm water. "Nothing," she said, her eyes closed, her voice heavy with fatigue. I knew something was wrong. I turned on the TV and switched to the business news channel. A reporter was speaking gravely. A major setback for Vance Industries' flagship renewable energy project as its key partner, Thorn Capital, has abruptly pulled all funding. The move has severed the project's financial lifeline, causing Vance stock to plummet at today's opening bell. I looked over at Isabella. Her eyes were still closed, her long lashes casting shadows in the dim light. "What's the name of the guy who runs Thorn Capital?" I asked. "Walter Thorn." I committed the name to memory. The next day, I told Isabella the first wanted to go out for a while. She gave me a long look, but didn't ask any questions, just nodded. I changed back into my old delivery uniform, got on my e-bike, and headed for the city's financial district. Thorn Capital's headquarters was a gleaming skyscraper. I circled the building like a lost dog. I had no idea what I could possibly do. I just knew I couldn't sit back and do nothing while she was in trouble. I was her contract boyfriend. I had to do something. I waited in a coffee shop across the street for hours. Finally, I saw a portly, middle-aged man in an expensive suit emerge from the building, surrounded by an entourage. I recognized him from the news reports. Walter Thorne. He climbed into a black Bentley. I started my scooter and followed from a distance. It was pure instinct. I had no plan. The Bentley eventually pulled up to an exclusive private club. I couldn't get in. All I could do was wait outside. It was after 10 o'clock when Thorne stumbled out, flanked by two young, beautiful women. He was clearly drunk. His driver opened the door, and he clumsily got into the car. As the Bentley sped away, a feeling of helplessness washed over me. What could I do? I was a delivery guy. How could I possibly go up against the titan of finance? I rode my scooter aimlessly through the streets. As I passed a dark alley, I saw a few figures moving in the shadows. Damn it, lost it all. Son of a bitch. Come on, mister. Thorne, just spot us a little more. We'll win it back next round. Get lost. Bunch of useless losers. A familiar figure was shoved out of the alley. It was Walter Thorne's driver. He sat on the ground, looking dejected and cursing under his breath. An idea sparked. I parked my scooter in the shadows and walked over. Hey man, tough night. I offered him a cigarette. The driver looked up, took the cigarette, and lit it, taking a deep drag. Don't even ask. Was out with the boss, felt the itch, played a few hands. Lost my whole damn paycheck. Playing for high stakes. I asked, feigning curiosity. Nah, just a few grand, the driver said, blowing a smoke ring. Mainly, it's because the boss has been in a foul mood lately, and that shit rolls downhill, you know? The boss? Walter Thorne from Thorne Capital. Yeah. What's wrong with him? I saw on the news he just screwed over Vance Industries. Shouldn't he be celebrating? The driver let out a bitter laugh. Celebrating? He's suffering in silence. That's what he's doing. He only screwed Vance because he's about to go under himself. He embezzled company funds to invest in crypto overseas, and the whole market crashed. He's down over $1 billion. Now he's scrambling to cover the hole. My heart pounded in my chest. This was huge. You for real? Why would I lie? The whole executive floor knows. Is keeping a lid on it. He pulled out of the Vance deal to try and free up cash to save his own skin, but it wasn't enough. I heard he's already started moving assets offshore, getting ready to skip town. I fought to keep the excitement off my face. How reliable is this information? As reliable as it gets. I drive him everywhere. The guy never bothers to be discreet on his phone calls. The driver finished his cigarette and stood up, dusting off his pants. Anyway, why am I telling you all this? Gotta go home and face the wife. He trudged off down the street. I stood frozen in place, the cigarette burning down to my fingers, the sting bringing me back to reality. I immediately pulled out my phone and dialed Isabella's number. Where are you? Home. Her voice was still laced with exhaustion. Stay there. I'm on my way back. Now. I jumped on my scooter and sped toward home, pushing the small electric motor to its limit. This time, it was my turn to protect her. I told Isabella everything I'd heard from the driver, word for word. When I finished, she was silent for a long time, her eyes wide with shock and confusion. How did you find all this out? I have my ways. I couldn't exactly tell her I'd stalked her rival and happened to get a lucky break with his disgruntled chauffeur. She gave me a deep, searching look but didn't press further. She immediately picked up her phone and made a series of calls. I want a full investigation into Walter Thorne's offshore accounts. Have the legal team prepare a lawsuit. We're suing Thorne for corporate fraud. Notify PR. First thing tomorrow morning, I want the news of Thorne's embezzlement leaked to every major outlet. She issued one command after another, her voice calm and decisive. The queen of the boardroom was back. But this time, I saw something new in her eyes. The next day, as soon as the market opened, Thorne Capital stock didn't just fall, it nosedived off a cliff. The news of Walter Thorne's embezzlement and failed crypto investments was everywhere. Rumor had it he was stopped at the airport trying to flee the country. The crisis at Vance Industries was over. That evening, for the first time, Isabella didn't work. She took a bottle of red wine from the cellar and poured a glass for each of us. Leo, thank you. She raised her glass. I just did what I was supposed to do. I clinked my glass against hers. I thought you just wanted to lie back and collect a paycheck, she teased, a faint smile on her lips. You have to get up and move around sometimes, or your bones will get rusty. I took a sip of wine, the rich liquid warming my throat. She smiled. A real smile. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. It wasn't the polite, calculated smile she used in business. This one was genuine, like ice melting in the spring. I found myself staring. What are you looking at? She asked, a light blush coloring her cheeks. You have a beautiful smile, I said sincerely. Her blush deepened. She looked down and took a small sip of her wine. The atmosphere in the room shifted, becoming charged with an unspoken intimacy. So, what are your plans for the future? She asked suddenly. What plans? You can't be my boyfriend forever, can you? 50 grand a month? I do this job for the rest of my life, I joked. She shot me a playful glare that made my heart skip a beat. Be serious. I paused. I don't know. I'll just take it one step at a time. Before I met her, my only goal in life was to make enough money for my sister to have a good life. Now, money didn't seem to be an issue anymore. I felt a little lost. If you want, she said, her eyes serious, you could come work at my company. I can tell you're smart, Leo. You just never had an opportunity. Work at her company? A delivery guy becoming a corporate executive? The leap was massive. I don't know the first thing about business, I said, and it was the truth. I can teach you, she replied. I looked at her, my reflection captured in her dark eyes. I suddenly felt that maybe this was a good idea, not for the money or the status, but just to be closer to her. Okay, I nodded. I became Isabella Vance's special assistant. It was a position she created just for me. I was the only one in the entire company who held the title. On my first day, I walked into the Vance Industries headquarters wearing one of the suits she'd bought for me. The receptionist's eyes went wide when she saw me. When I told her my name and that I was there to see Ms. Vance, her jaw nearly hit the floor. The gossip about me and Isabella had already saturated the company grapevine. I could feel dozens of eyes on me as I walked through the office, a mixture of curiosity, contempt, and envy. I held my head high. I didn't care what they thought. Isabella's office was on the top floor, occupying half of the entire level. She gave me my own office, right next to hers. My job was simple. I did whatever she told me to do, organizing files, managing her schedule, sometimes sitting in on client meetings. Just as she'd promised, she taught me everything with painstaking patience, from reading financial reports to the art of negotiation. I was a quick study. I discovered I had a natural aptitude for this world. The complex numbers and contractual clauses that baffled others felt like an intricate game to me. More than once, Isabella praised me. Leo, you were born to do this. I would just smile. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd always had this ambition in my blood, suppressed by a life of poverty. Of course, the rumors about me never stopped. They all said I was the CEO's boy toy, a pretty face who had slept his way to the top. One manager in particular, a guy named Davis, seemed to have it out for me. He was in charge of a major project and had wanted to bring in one of his own people, but Isabella had shot him down and put me on the team instead. He tried to sabotage me at every turn. During meetings, he would deliberately use obscure industry jargon to try and make me look foolish. I spent several sleepless nights poring over every document related to the project until I knew it inside and out. At the next meeting, when I not only answered his questions flawlessly, but also pointed out several critical flaws in his proposal, his face turned black. He never underestimated me again. And slowly, with my own competence, I began to earn the respect of some of my colleagues. My relationship with Isabella grew closer as well. We commuted to work together, left together, and ate our meals together. To the outside world, we were a couple deeply in love. Even I started to lose track of where the act ended and reality began. Our contract felt like it had become real, but neither of us ever dared to cross that final line, until the day Jessica showed up at the office. She was dressed to the nines, causing a scene at the front desk, demanding to see me. I didn't want to see her, but she was relentless. Security eventually brought her up to my office. Well, look at you, Leo. Moving up in the world, she said, her eyes scanning my spacious office with undisguised envy. Climbed your way to the top, and now you're too good to see me? We broke up, Jessica. We have nothing to talk about, I said flatly. Broke up, she sneered. Oh, stop pretending, Leo. I know you still love me. All of this. You're just doing it to prove that I made the wrong choice, aren't you? I looked at her and felt a surge of pity, not for her, but for the delusion she was living in. You're giving yourself way too much credit. No, I'm not. She stepped forward, reaching for my hand. You and that woman, it's just a game, right? Someone like her could never be serious about someone like you. She's just amusing herself. Come back to me, Leo. We can start over. Kyle, he was a liar. His family went bankrupt months ago. She started to cry, fat tears rolling down her cheeks. Naomi might have felt sorry for her, but the man I was now just felt tired. I pulled my hand away. Jessica, we can't go back. Why not? Because I'm in love with someone else, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. After they were out, I froze. The person I love. Is it Isabella? Jessica froze too, staring at me in disbelief. Just then, the office door opened and Isabella walked in. She glanced at the tear-streaked Jessica, then at me, her brow furrowing slightly. What's going on here? Seeing Isabella, Jessica reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She spun around, her voice shrill. It's you. You're the bitch who stole my boyfriend. Isabella's eyes turned to ice. afraid she was about to unleash her fury. I quickly stepped in front of her. This has nothing to do with her. It was my choice, I said to Jessica. You should go, and don't come back here again. Leo, Jessica shrieked. Security. I pressed the intercom button on my desk. 2 guards quickly appeared and escorted the screaming, struggling Jessica out of my office. The room fell silent. I turned around, not daring to meet Isabella's gaze. She had definitely heard me say, I'm in love with someone else. You love her? Isabella asked suddenly. Who? I asked, my mind blank. Your ex-girlfriend. No, of course not, I denied instantly. Then who do you love? She advanced on me, backing me up against my desk until I had nowhere to go. I looked at her face, so close to mine, and breathed in her familiar, intoxicating scent. My heart hammered against my ribs. Who did I love? The answer was screaming in my mind. I summoned my courage and met her gaze. I love you. The air in the room seemed to solidify. Isabella stared at me, a flicker of panic in her eyes. It was the first time I had ever seen her look anything but completely in control. She took a step back, putting distance between us. Leo, do you know what you're saying? Her voice was unsteady. I know. I looked at her. Isabella Vance, I love you. Not because of your money or your status. I just love you. I love watching you when you're focused on your work. I love the look on your face when you enjoy the food I make, and I love the rare smiles you give only to me. I poured out everything that was in my heart. When I finished, I watched her nervously, awaiting her verdict. She was silent for a very long time, so long that I was sure she was about to reject me. Our contract expires in 3 months, she said suddenly. My heart sank. When it's over, I'll give you a sum of money, enough to set you up for life. She turned her face away, refusing to look at me. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. She was kicking me out. What if I don't want to go? I asked. She didn't answer. Isabella, I said, stepping forward until I was standing in front of her again. Can you honestly tell me you don't feel anything for me? Her body trembled. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her reaction was all the answer I needed. I smiled. I reached out and gently pulled her into my arms. She didn't fight it. Her body was stiff, but she didn't push me away. I buried my face in the crook of her neck and took a deep breath. Don't make me leave, okay? My voice was muffled. After a long moment, I felt her arms slowly wrap around my waist, holding me tight. Idiot, she whispered into my ear. And just like that, we were together. No flowers, no grand confession. Just a hug and a single word in an office, sealing our new reality. Our life didn't seem to change much, but at the same time, everything was different. We still want to work together and came home together. But now, when no one was looking, I would sneak my hand into hers. She would pretend to pull away for a second, then let me hold it. She was still the powerful CEO, but in private, she showed a softer, more vulnerable side of herself. She would get jealous if I talked to a female colleague for too long. She would wrap her arms around me from behind while I was cooking. I felt like I was living in a dream. I'd even forgotten that I was just the man she had bought. Until I received a phone call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was old and commanding. Is this Leo Miller? Yes, speaking. Who is this? I am Isabella Vance's grandfather. My name is Arthur Blackwood. I expect you to join us for dinner tomorrow evening. It wasn't a request. It was an order. A knot formed in my stomach. The day of reckoning had arrived. I told Isabella about the call. The color drained from her face. Don't go, she said. My grandfather. I have to go. I interrupted. I'm your boyfriend. Sooner or later, I have to meet the family. She looked at me, her eyes filled with worry. They won't approve of us. I don't care if they approve. I only care what you think. I took her hands in mine. As long as you're with me, I don't care if I have to take on the whole world. Her eyes reddened. The next evening, Isabella and I drove to the Blackwood family estate. It was a sprawling, traditional mansion, stately and imposing, radiating generations of old money and power. The living room was full of people. An old man with a full head of white hair, still sharp and vigorous, sat in the main armchair. That had to be her grandfather, Arthur Blackwood. Beside him sat a middle-aged couple, presumably Isabella's parents. A few other young people were scattered around. Her cousins, I guessed. Every single pair of eyes was fixed on me, scrutinizing me like a piece of livestock at an auction. Grandfather, Mom, Dad, this is my boyfriend, Leo Miller, Isabella said. No one responded. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Mr. Blackwood spoke. Sit. I took Isabella's hand and sat beside her. I hear you used to be a delivery driver? Mr. Blackwood asked, getting straight to the point. Yes, sir, I nodded. And now you work as an assistant at Isabella's company? Yes. And how much does Isabella pay you a month? The question was designed to humiliate. Isabella's face went pale. She started to speak, but I squeezed her hand to stop her. I met the old man's gaze and said calmly, "My current salary is benchmarked at the vice president level. Before that, Isabella paid me $50,000 a month for my services as her contract boyfriend." I deliberately emphasized the words contract boyfriend. As expected, the expressions on everyone's faces darkened. Outrageous. Isabella's father slammed his hand on the table. "Isabella, look at the kind of trash you've brought into this house. A man who would do anything for money." "He is not trash." Isabella shot to her feet, her eyes blazing. "He's the man I love." "Love? Mr. Blackwood scoffed. "You think a man who can be bought with money is capable of love?" He turned his sharp, cutting gaze on me. "Name your price, boy. How much will it take for you to leave my granddaughter?" I laughed. "Mr. Blackwood, do you really think your family has more money than Isabella was already giving me?" I stood up and walked toward him. I admit, I was with her for the money at first. But things are different now. I looked him straight in the eye and said, enunciating every word, "Now, you could offer me all of Vance Industries, and I still wouldn't leave her." Mr. Blackwood's face grew so dark I thought a storm cloud might burst over his head. "Fine, a boy with a sharp tongue. We'll see how long that backbone of yours lasts." Just then, a man who looked like a butler hurried into the room. He leaned down and whispered something in Mr. Blackwood's ear. The old man's expression shifted dramatically. He looked at me again, but this time the contempt was gone, replaced by shock, confusion, and even a hint of, Your last name is Miller?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Yes." "Was your father's name Julian Croft?" I froze. How could he possibly know my father's name? I grew up an orphan, raised in a group home. I only knew my last name was Miller because it was on my file. I had no idea who my parents were. The name Julian Croft meant nothing to me. "I don't know anyone by that name," I said, shaking my head. Mr. Blackwood stared intently at my face, as if trying to find something hidden there. "The resemblance is uncanny," he muttered to himself. Then he did something that completely floored me. He stood up, faced me, and bowed deeply from the waist. "Forgive me, young master. This old servant has been blind. My transgression is unforgivable." The entire room fell silent. Everyone was frozen in shock, including me. My mind was reeling. Young master? Old servant? What kind of play were we in? Isabella was just as stunned. She rushed to her grandfather's side. "Grandfather, what are you doing?" But he ignored her, his complex gaze fixed on me. "Young master, please come with me." He led me to his study. On the wall hung a large portrait of a refined, middle-aged man. His eyes and the set of his jaw were startlingly similar to my own. "This is your father, Mr. Julian Croft," Mr. Blackwood said. "He is the heir to the Croft family, a family the Blackwoods have served for generations." My mind went blank. "The Croft family?" "Yes." Mr. Blackwood sighed, beginning to unravel a story that had been buried for years. "The Crofts," he explained, "were an ancient and powerful family, a hidden dynasty with interests spanning the globe and influence beyond measure. The Blackwoods, for centuries, had acted as their retainers, managing the Croft family's vast assets in North America. Vance Industries, it turned out, was just a tiny, insignificant piece of the Croft commercial empire. Over 20 years ago, a brutal power struggle erupted within the Croft family. My father, Julian Croft, sent me away from our home in New York to protect me, leaving me in the care of a trusted subordinate. He himself disappeared during the conflict, his fate unknown. That subordinate later met with an accident, and I, through a series of misfortunes, ended up in the foster care system. The sole heir to the Croft family fortune had vanished without a trace. "We have been searching for you for over 20 years, Mr. Blackwood said, his eyes welling with tears. "To think, you were right under our noses the entire time." I listened, feeling like I was in a fever dream. Me, a food delivery guy, was suddenly the sole heir to some hidden, mega-wealthy dynasty? It was even more ridiculous than being paid to be a fake boyfriend. "On your left shoulder," Mr. Blackwood said, "do you have a birthmark in the shape of a clover?" I subconsciously touched my shoulder. I did have a mark just like that. "It is the symbol of the direct bloodline of the Croft family," Mr. Blackwood said, his voice thick with emotion. "There is no mistake. You are the young master." He started to kneel again, but I quickly caught him. "Please don't do that. I need a minute to process all this." When we returned to the living room, the way everyone looked at me had completely changed. Isabella's father, the man who had just called me trash, was now smiling obsequiously, personally handing me a cup of tea. Mr. Croft, my deepest apologies for my earlier behavior. Please, don't hold it against me. I ignored him and walked straight to Isabella. She stared at me, her expression unreadable. So, you're the one who's actually from super rich family? She asked. I gave a bitter smile. I just found out myself. Then, what does this mean for us? What do you mean? I took her hand. I'm still me, and you're still you. I don't care about being some long-lost heir. All I know is that you're my girlfriend. Her eyes lit up. But your family. If they don't approve of you, then I'll abdicate, I said, my voice firm. I'm used to being poor, anyway. Isabella smiled, though tears glistened in her eyes. She stood on her toes and pressed a gentle kiss to my lips. Right there, in front of everyone. I don't care if you're an heir or not. You're my man, she declared. In that moment, I knew that having her was more valuable than having the entire world. My life changed overnight. Mr. Blackwood moved me into a new home, a sprawling manor in the heart of the city worth hundreds of millions. He assigned me a fleet of luxury cars, dozens of bodyguards, and a full household staff. My bank account now contained a string of zeros, so long I couldn't count them. I was experiencing a level of wealth I never knew existed. But I wasn't happy. I preferred living in Isabella's penthouse, eating simple food from her fridge. I told Mr. Blackwood I want to go back to my job at Vance Industries. He couldn't argue, so he agreed. And so, I returned to Isabella's side as her special assistant. Only this time, no one in the office dared to whisper about me. Everyone addressed me respectfully as Mr. Croft. Even Mr. Davis nearly bowed every time he saw me. It was boring. I missed the satisfaction of proving people wrong with my own abilities. Isabella seemed to sense my mood. What's wrong? Not used to being the young master? She teased. It was more fun being your boyfriend, I said, wrapping my arms around her from behind. At least then, you paid me a monthly salary. She laughed. How about I give you a monthly allowance from now on? Okay, I murmured into her hair. But I don't want money. Then what do you want? I want you. Our relationship deepened. I began to learn about the Croft family business under Mr. Blackwood's guidance. It was a world more vast and complex than I could have ever imagined. Finance, tech, energy, defense contracting. I finally understood that poverty truly does limit one's imagination. But I wasn't interested in most of it. I delegated the majority of the work to Mr. Blackwood and his teams of professionals. I had only one directive: provide unconditional support for Isabella Vance and her ambitions. With my backing, Vance Industries grew at an explosive rate, quickly becoming one of the most powerful corporations in the country. Isabella became a true titan of industry. Everything seemed perfect, but one question still haunted me. My father, Julian Croft. What really happened during that family conflict? Was he alive or dead? I instructed Mr. Blackwood to use all of the Croft family's resources to investigate. The information came back quickly. The coup had been orchestrated by a distant uncle of mine, Marcus Croft, who had always coveted the headship of the family. After my father disappeared, Marcus became the de facto leader. For years, he had been secretly searching for me, intending to eliminate the last remaining threat to his power. And my father wasn't dead. He was being held captive by Marcus on a private island, where he had been imprisoned for over 2 decades. The moment I heard the news, the blood in my veins turned to ice. A volcanic rage erupted from the depths of my soul. I was no longer Leo Miller, the guy who just wanted an easy life. I was Julian Croft's son, and some debts can only be paid in blood. I devised a meticulous plan. On the surface, I remained indifferent to family affairs, allowing Marcus to believe he held all the power. He dismissed me as a worthless heir, blinded by love and easily manipulated. But in the shadows, with Mr. Blackwood's help, I was systematically consolidating power, replacing his loyalists with my own. Isabella leveraged all of her resources to aid me. 6 months later, the time was right. At the annual Croft Family Council meeting, in front of all the elders, I exposed Marcus Croft's crimes, the attempted murder of the family head and the illegal imprisonment of my father. The evidence was irrefutable. Marcus, cornered, tried to use his private security force to seize control of the meeting. But he never suspected that his most trusted captain of the guard had been my man for months. His desperate move was a joke. The game was over. Marcus Croft was stripped of all power and locked away in the family's dungeons. 3 days later, I led a team to that remote island. In a dark, damp cell, I saw my father for the first time. He was chained to a wall, his hair white and matted, his body gaunt. He was a shadow of the distinguished man in the portrait. 20 years of captivity had broken him. He looked at me, his eyes cloudy and unfocused. "Who are you?" "Dad, it's me. It's Leo." I fell to my knees before him, tears streaming down my face. He reached out a trembling hand and touched my cheek. The resemblance. It's true. My son, you're all grown up. Our family was finally reunited. I brought my father back to New York and arranged for the best medical care to help him recover. I became the official head of the Croft family. The very first thing I did was announce my intention to marry Isabella Vance. All the family elders objected. They argued that her background was not worthy of the wife of the Croft patriarch. But my father silenced them all. It is my son's life, and his marriage is his decision alone. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pride. As long as he is happy, I would give my blessing even if he chose to marry a beggar from the streets. The wedding was an event of unprecedented scale. It felt like every influential person from around the globe was in attendance. At the altar, Isabella was breathtaking in a white gown, her face radiant with happiness. She linked her arm through mine and smiled. "Mr. Croft," she whispered in my ear, "I don't think our original contract has technically expired yet. Has it?" "No, it hasn't," I said, looking into her eyes. "This contract has a lifetime term." She paused for a second, then her smile widened. "And what about my $50,000 monthly salary?" "It's not enough," I said, shaking my head. "Oh, then what's your price?" "I want you, and the little one in your belly." I gently placed my hand on her flat stomach. Her face instantly turned a deep shade of crimson. "You? How did you know?" "I have my ways," I grinned. In truth, I'd accidentally seen the pregnancy test she'd try to hide. She playfully slapped my arm, her face beaming with joy. I looked at her, feeling like the luckiest man in the universe. From a delivery driver with nothing to my name, to the head of a powerful dynasty with everything I could ever want. It all started on that one absurd night, with that one absurd contract. But my greatest fortune wasn't the wealth or the status. It was her, my queen, my love, and the woman who saved my life. Epilogue on our wedding night. I carried Isabella back to our suite. She was slightly drunk, her cheeks flushed, her eyes hazy and bright. "Leo, can I ask you something?" she murmured, tracing circles on my chest with her finger. "Anything. If that night in the hotel hallway you had run into someone else, another woman, one who wasn't as pretty as me or as rich, would you still have stay to take care of her?" I paused. I'd never considered that before. I looked into her eyes, which were full of a nervous, hopeful anticipation, and decided to tease her. I pretended to think about it for a long moment before saying with a grave expression, "Well, that would really depend on how good-looking she was." Isabella's face fell instantly. She pushed herself off me and glared, her cheeks puffed out. "Leo, you jerk." Seeing this rare, pouting side of her, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I pulled her back into my arms. "I'm kidding, you goof." I kissed her forehead. No matter who it was, I would have stayed. My mom raised me to be a good person. "Really?" she asked, not entirely convinced. "Really," I said, looking her seriously in the eyes. "But you're the only one I would have fallen in love with." She smiled then, a brilliant, happy smile like a kid who'd just been given candy. What she didn't know was that I was telling the truth. But I'd left out the last part, because while my mom taught me to be a good person, my dad always told me that being good was fine, but you should never, ever make a bad deal. If the woman hadn't been a knockout, I still would have stayed. But the next morning, instead of a note with my phone number, I would have left a QR code for my Venmo. After all, a rescue service like that ought to come with a fee, right? The end.